Greetings, my name is Stan Houston, and I'm one of the creators of the Cowboy Up podcast, and we're so grateful for your time and attention and that you've been faithful listeners and you've recommended us to others. Hey, we're taking a little bit of a cowboy break, so the Cowboys are off for a while, and the Radio Wranglers have also decided this is a nice time for a break, so we're going to do an encore program once again this week. Loop Rawlins came and visited with us during those kind of dark days of the COVID times. But thank goodness that's over, and the program continues. But it's nice to reminisce about the good things that we had that happened even during that time, and that's what we're going to do. So the Cowboy Up podcast encore begins right now.
Howdy, friends. Welcome back to the Cowboy Up podcast featuring co-hosts Russell True and Alan Day, two cowboys who know cowboy culture and have the stories to prove it. This episode is sponsored by the Dude Ranchers Association and White Stallion Ranch and brought to you by Cowboy Spirit USA. Loop Rawlins visits Russell and Alan at the ranch to talk about his amazing career as a Western performer, specializing in trick roping, gunslinging, whip cracking, and a fire act. So saddle up, it's time to meet this talented, down-to-earth cowboy.
Hey, Alan. Good to have you back here at the ranch. How are you?
I'm just great, and it was fun to drive in the ranch road this morning and see the horses, and we've just had such great weather today, and I'm just thrilled with our guest. What a treat it is to have Loop here as a guest.
Well, no kidding. I've known Loop a long time. I don't even know. He's going to have to tell me because I think he started here at White Stallion when he was 18, and I don't know how old he is now. So, Luke, how long have you been coming out here?
I want to break in right here. He doesn't look over 18 right now. He looks far younger than he must be, but wow. He looks very youthful for you audience.
He does. Yeah. He does have a full beard, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention that.
I was trying to, age myself a little bit. So I've been coming out here actually since I was 17.
17.
Yeah, and now I'm 34, almost 35 next month. So, and still just doing the show and having fun.
Well, it's kind of, from my perspective, much like with the guests, one of our lawyers I've known since she was 3. Oh. She started coming out as a guest with her father, who's one of my favorite people in the world, and mother also. And so we get to see the evolving guest and staff. And so I knew you before you were married. I knew you before you had kids. And now you've got the great family. It usually comes out and you exploit the kids a little bit in the show.
Exactly.
So anyway, Loop, he has a big resume, and so we'll get some of it. I think he's won 5 International Wild West Awards in Las Vegas, I guess.
Yep.
He was in the Cirque du Soleil Viva Elvis show for the entire run. He's opened for country music stars. He's performed for celebrities. He's traveled the world. He was the lead stunt guy in Kingsman 2, which always gets our guests' attention big time. He was a quarter finalist in America's Got Talent. I always am reluctant to mention that because I think you should have won, and I think they set you up not as well as they should have, and I mean that very, very sincerely. Yeah. And but anyway, as your own show says, you're helping keep the Old West, the spirit of the West alive. And to Alan and I, that's a big deal.
Well, but your resume is fabulous, and it's just fun to see you here and meet the hero the celebrity that is here sitting at the table. But it's today's world, and today's world is different than it was last year, different than it was a few months ago. How has the life that we're living now, how have you adapted to that, and what's different in your world?
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. When it first started, the pandemic, I was actually at a show in Phoenix. The Ostrich Festival was supposed to happen, and everyone was set up. And it's a huge festival. I did my sound check, and the gates were going to open, and then they didn't open, and we're like, what's going on? Wow. And we looked on social media, and it said, oh, we canceled it, because that's when everything was coming up. So that's where it started. It canceled this weekend.
When was that?
That was the weekend of March, the middle of March, and the weekend, like a Friday, I think.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah, almost a year ago. And then that's where it started. So, but other than that, I've been performing here at the ranch and being able to perform weekly. That's been nice.
This your standby?
Yeah, this is nice. I get to, the guests are always fun to perform for, and it's a place where I can keep fresh if other things aren't happening. At first it was nice to be reflective, it's everything slowed down. I was able to, reflect on my life and think about things. And then after a few months, I was like, okay, enough reflecting. I kind of want to do more.
Now let's rock and roll.
Let's do some stuff. I had a show in Alaska for this mega church. And, so that was nice. I got a COVID test when I got to the airport, and then the results happened in like one day, and I was okay. So I did the show for the mega church, and then they took me, salmon fishing. And so
that was tough work, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was really nice to get away and to leave. And then I had a show in Wisconsin, Montana, but the previous year, 2019, I was out of town 136 days.
Wow.
And then 2020 was complete opposite, so it was slow.
So what balance are you going to hit? This is giving you the up and the down. Where are you going to land?
I don't know. I'm still figuring things out, trying to adapt. National Western Stock Show and Rodeo in Denver. I performed for them 3 times, and they canceled their rodeo this year. I wasn't scheduled to perform at it, but they asked me to do an online video or like a recording for an online conference to raise money. And then I had another client that booked me for a live performance that wanted me to do an online recording. So there's been some interesting different avenues that have been picked up, but it's still just completely different. Life is different right now.
Let's go back a stage. How did you get into it when you were young? What got you into roping, trick roping?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I loved watching Westerns and just films, like that spirit of adventure. I loved watching a hero.
And your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. I can't. I'm one of those people, I don't like idolize one thing or one person. I sort of just gather different inspirations, different places, and kind of try to make it my own. But anyways, when I was a kid, Westerns, I remember going to the Alamo with my family when I was a kid. My dad bought like a cheap whip, and he was trying to crack it, and I was trying to crack it. And in my front here in Tucson, I would be in the front yard with my brother, like with our little cap guns, like on this little hill we had in front of our house, and we'd shoot caps when cars were going by. And people would like honk, and like, it was now probably it'd be, what are these kids on the hill with the cap guns? But back then that was, and so I was already kind of performing. I was into it when I was a kid, and I'd made little videos and little films with my brothers with my parents' camcorder. So all that was there. And then when I was 8 years old, I joined the Tucson, Arizona Boys Chorus. And I was only there for 1 year, and they do rope tricks as they're singing their songs. They have a Western section, and they do actual rope tricks. And I love the rope tricks better than the singing part. So I quit that, and then the Cactus Cowboy Corral, this little kids trick roping group, was formed off of like kind of the boys chorus. Someone started that. And I believe they did something here a long time ago, didn't they? That little trick roping group.
So yeah, we kind of have connections both ways. One of my great friends is Ed Ackerley, and his brother Julian is the longtime director of the Tucson Boys Chorus, and they just did a whole series of commercials out here, Christmas, so it was pre-Christmas. And then yes, the What's
think
it
it's
called?
Cactus Cowboy Corral at the time.
Cactus Cowboy, yeah. I used to call them something else. I never got it right. But Cactus Cowboy Corral, yeah, they used to perform out here. They bring the kids out, and they had the older man who was kind of he was the inspiration, right? He was the guy who taught them all.
Yeah, and he was sort of my early mentor when I first started. I never performed out here though, which was weird. Yeah, we performed at Old Tucson, and we went to Texas for the symposium, like National Western Symposium, I think it was called. But yeah, Forrest Hobbs, his name was Forrest Hobbs, and he was about 82 at the time. And, I guess I was his favorite student because I was really into it. Whereas if all the kids were practicing rope tricks, when it was break time, they'd say, okay, it's break time. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Why would you want to take a break from all this? Like, this is fun.
This is why we're here.
Why do you want to break? I don't want to break. So I excelled the most, but yeah, so, that's how I kind of got started out.
Well, I'm going to put a hard task in front of you. You do these wonderful rope tricks, but you do them with a rope in your hand. Now do a trick with no rope in your hand. Do it over the air on this broadcast. And I want to hear. Yeah. I'm a serious request.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you can.
Unfortunately, that doesn't work. I need skills. Yeah.
What's your favorite trick? Give me a name.
Well, I actually don't even know the name for the trick I like doing, but,
we better name it right here.
Yeah, right. The problem is some of the hardest tricks, some hard rope tricks don't look hard. And people, that looks easy. And that's the one thing with what I do is not many people have tried spinning rope. They don't know how easy or how hard it is. But there's one, trick, and, it's on my Facebook page. I'm not trying to do a plug or anything.
Oh, you should.
But glad to have you.
But it's from me at the ranch. It's actually a clip of me at the ranch doing the trick, and it's where I'm doing a Texas skip, is where it's just a big loop you jump through from side to side, and then doing a butterfly through the Texas skip as you jump through it. So it's a double rope trick. So it's
one on each side and then train
sides. Yeah, switching sides. So one's going really fast and reverse, and the other one's going really slow and forward. So you'll have to see it, but
no, we just saw it. You just painted a picture of it.
Yeah. So no one. There was one guy in Germany that was an amazing trick roper. That did a different version of it, but he's not performing. And then there was one gentleman named Vince Bruce, who was the ultimate rodeo performer, and he was just a technician, but he passed away. But before he passed, I finally got to meet him, and he showed me some trick roping, and he was very technical with the rope skills. And so now that trick that you see, the double rope jump through trick, I'm currently the only one in the world that performs that trick.
What does it feel like to be the king of your world?
That's weird. No. It's all right. It's weird too, because there's also another really good kid in rodeo, Ryder Kisner. I said his name wrong, but he's he's a little guy. He's really fast and just he does amazing tricks, and has some skills that I'm not as good at, and then I have things that I'm stronger at, and it's kind of like apples and oranges, So there's also some charros in Mexico that they have these competitions, and they use a different style of roping, but they doing some amazing technical tricks that I can't touch. But then if they tried to do what I'm doing with the guns and the whips and the ropes, they wouldn't be able to do it. So it's kind of, it's apples and oranges, and everyone's doing good.
And with the charros in Mexico, where are they doing that? Is that in their, I can't say the
charreria or something.
Charreria.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're rodeos. They have.
Do they do it there?
Yeah, they do it there. And then also it's kind of, I've seen videos of them just doing it like at wedding celebrations. There's a guy doing some roping. And the style's completely different.
What kind of rope do they use?
They use like a poly rope now, but traditionally a maguey rope.
Maguey.
Yeah.
Which is cactus fiber.
Yeah, which is like the fibers, and they twist it up. But now I think they're getting a little bit more modern with their ropes. There may be some people still traditionally using that rope.
Riatas ever, or no?
No, I think the weight's not right. I haven't really seen anyone do riatas, but also with the grass ropes, depending on the humidity or how dry it is, they change a lot. So it's
how much practice do you have to do to stay fit?
Stay fit. Nowadays, I don't practice as much. I only practice on new things that I want to do, but I don't. You sort of get to a certain level where you're just kind of maintaining. Because because that rope trick that I told you about, if I try to get technically higher than that, the amount of effort and time it would take to achieve more technical with the payoff with the audience is not worth it.
They wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to see it because there's some double, like this, for instance, I don't really do my double roping with two smaller ropes anymore because it just looks easy, but it's really hard. And I'm switching ropes from hand to hand and people are kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then I do a simple trick and they're like, whoa, that's amazing. So you're trying to find that balance. Whereas if a trick rope or a cowboy saw my show, they'd be really impressed. But you want to have some tricks that are impressive technically for, if I'm doing a rodeo, if there's cowboys watching. But you also want to, it's entertainment. So you have to be aware of that.
What's been your biggest wreck you ever had?
I guess maybe here at the ranch. There was one time my hands were really sweaty and I was doing the gun spinning, 2 guns, and then a gun slipped off my finger and the barrel hit me in the eyebrow and split my eyebrow open.
Wow.
And I was just bleeding profusely in the middle of a show. So I had...
Did you stop or did...
So I stopped and people were kind of... I heard the audience from some sighing from the audience. Oh. And so I went inside and kind of cleaned it up and it stopped, and then I went outside and continued.
You retrieved yourself.
Yeah.
He cowboyed up.
Yeah, I cowboyed up. Yeah, see?
I have a book by that name.
I didn't just get hit and like, sorry guys, show's canceled. I got an owie. No.
Well,
right.
So I met, and he was a guest here, actually, a man who was considered one of the greatest of his time, Monty Montana.
Oh, yeah.
And you must know of Monty Montana.
Definitely, yeah.
And so he was later in life, and he and his wife were here, and we went to a show at Old Tucson. It was a benefit show for a wild Mustang place up in South Dakota. And so this guy with 2 plastic knees, Monty Montana, is jumping through the loop and doing, it wasn't one of your shows. He was not a young man at the time. And he and his wife were so lovely and they were great friends of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, and they lived sort of next door in Palm Desert or Palm Springs, wherever they were. But because he really was a man of his era. And, to meet him at the end of that time, and, he's the guy who roped Ike Eisenhower at the inauguration. We've got an inauguration coming up. I don't think anybody's going to get near our new president with a rope. But anyway, Monty Montana.
We got to take a little break, Russell. We'll be right back on, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this. We'll be right back.
Well, once again, we're glad that you are with us for the Cowboy Up podcast as we're doing a little encore programming. Our regular radio wranglers and cowboys took the time off. However, someone who didn't take the time off is our good friend from the Wild West and the True West. Stuart, welcome to the Encore program.
Well, thank you, Stan. Great to talk to you today. We're here in Prescott, Arizona. We're having some monsoon season, a little cooler up here than down in Phoenix. And so we're celebrating Cowboys this month at True West Magazine, our September issue. We've got some really great features. One on Teddy Blue Abbott and the Yellowstone Cowboys by Thomas Minkler, who's just got a great new book out called Montana, The Paper Trail. It's a huge, beautiful, collectible coffee table book. I highly recommend it, but it's a great excerpt on the great American cowboy Teddy Blue Abbott. And then Johnny Boggs has stepped forward and did a big feature for us on the history of the 4 Sixes. The 4 Sixes is a legendary ranch in the panhandle of Texas, and it's getting a lot of play these days in the Yellowstone universe of Taylor Sheridan. So we try to place the historical context on the 4 Sixes and where it started and where it is today. And Boggs, of course, he knows how to ride the range. Has really given us a great story here on the 4 Sixes. I think everyone's going to really love it. Bob Bell and I love the humor of the Old West, and Bob's been tracking it for a long time. So since we were taking a look at Yellowstone and the Cowboys of the West, we thought we'd take a look at Charlie Russell, who's one of the great humorists of the West. We know him as one of our master painters in the American art and one of the greatest American artists of all time. But he had quite a funny sense of humor. And so we've got a nice little article on Charlie Russell, the humorist. And then we're taking to take a look back at how Taylor Sheridan has interpreted history through the photographs of Montana from about the 1860s to the 1920s. It's a very interesting, and we're fortunate that there were a lot of great photographers in the Montana Territory in the frontier years of Montana that kind of give us a look back at how that state developed and how it relates to Taylor Sheridan's 1883 and 1923. And it's such a cultural phenomenon. We're trying to keep our pulse on the popularity of his creative shows and how it relates to the real history. The other thing everyone will love about this issue is it's our annual guide to the best museums and the best Western art museums across the United States that celebrate our Western heritage. And we've got, and so anyone who's traveling out there, this is a great issue to read, to plan your future travel if you love Western museums and Western art. And so I highly recommend it. And then we also have a little rarity in here, a Max Evans story that was published a long time ago. And we dive into our archives. This is from 1954, the second year of True West, and we're celebrating our 70th anniversary. And this is a Max Evans classic called Spur Talk. So pick up the September issue. You can go to True West magazine.com or find it on your local newsstand. I think everyone's going to love this issue.
I will guarantee it. I got my copy, and I've got to do a little airplane time back and forth this. And guess right there is my briefcase, and I've got a book, and I've got the True West September issue, because literally you'll learn more there by accident than most places by design, and it really is entertaining. You guys do remarkable stuff. It is the Wild West, but it's also the True West, and that makes it wonderful. Stuart, I'm glad you were with us. You will be back, of course, next month, and we'll press on. And by the way, there may be a new podcast coming up pretty soon, right?
That's sure. We are working on it, Stan, and looking forward to announce it very soon.
That will be fun, and it'll be on a topic and a place and a subject which you will love to hear more about. So take care, my friend. Try and stay a little bit cooler. You're in a better Arizona cooler place, but it'll warm up for you. But keep our greetings warm. And again, thank you for showing up, and thank you for being a part of the Cowboy Up podcast, and thank you for supporting True West Magazine. You have a patriotic and a historical duty to do just that.
Thank you, Stan.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
So we finished up with Monty, Montana, and we were in the break. You've got a story.
Yeah. When my mom was a kid, she lived in California, and Monty, Montana came to her school and performed. And I don't think she remembers exactly what he did with the rope, but he had his horse there. But I remember she was just mesmerized by him. And that's pretty neat, because when I was a kid, I had that same effect. I was just mesmerized. And when I perform, I always have to remember that when I'm doing rodeos, there's a bunch of kids on the fence watching me perform, and they're just in awe. So I really it's cool what Monty, Montana has done for people. And I also have a book that I never returned it to a friend with that Monty, Montana signed. So his book. I know. But I met Monty Montana Jr., and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. But he had a funny sense of humor. I performed and he commentated one time a long time ago when I was starting out. So yeah, he did a lot for the West, and he's a great guy.
And now that was Monty Jr., you said?
Yeah, Monty, that I met personally.
And he's gone too.
Yeah, he passed away too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about being on America's Got Talent. That's a big show. Was it a big deal when you were on it, or did you just think this is another gig?
Yeah, it was a big deal. Basically, I have an agency in Texas that books me in the fair and festival market. And they were telling me that I should go on America's Got Talent. And I was sort of unsure because I've had some friends, Western performers, go on there and they get made fun of, or they get edited to be made fun of. So I was worried about that. So I knew there was a risk. So I basically set up my act as much as I could to not get made fun of, set myself up with what I was doing, the music. But yeah, I mean, it was, there's a lot of people over there in the holding rooms. Everyone's really nervous. Luckily, I was a performer, so it was a little bit easier for me. You had a very short amount of time. There's a lot of logistics, but it was fun. And even when I got through, there's other people that got through. And even if you get through with the judges, you're not guaranteed to get through on TV. So, but luckily I made that. And,
how far along did you go? Were you in the finals?
3 rounds. I was in the quarterfinals. So like 2 away from the win. And, yeah. And at that point, basically the magicians and the singers, everyone is just amazing at what they're really good. I'm really good. They're really good. It's just more of, I mean, it's not really it's a contest of just popularity.
Did you feel they accepted you or made fun of you?
No, I think they accepted me, pretty well. Like even Howard Stern, of all people, he really liked my act. And that's someone that you wouldn't think. My audition was in New York City. So Cowboy in New York City performing and getting a standing ovation for my audition from a bunch of New Yorkers. I mean, that's pretty amazing feat right there. So, you know, it was a lot of fun and it was kind of nerve-wracking at times, but it really helped condition me. Luckily, with all the performances I've had before, I was conditioned to handle my nerves, and it went okay. Yeah.
You know, I think it's interesting that your concern was based on experience, that they might make fun of you. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the interesting, I think, as an observer, the absolute contrast, two sides of a coin with being a cowboy in the West, because in one sense, it's the iconic symbol of America. Yeah. As the West pushed westward and the frontier pushed westward, and the cowboys, they're very much a symbol in a very good way of what makes America different. And yet on the other hand, I think modern times, they're very quick to try and make fun of us. And my son, Stephen, learned very early on, he was interviewed as a kid, and they changed his language to make him sound hokey. So They got the message correct, but they altered his language. He was outraged. He goes, Dad, I've never spoken that way in my life. I've never even used those words. So, well, you know.
So some director thought that's how you should sound.
It was the interviewer for a print interview. Wow. And so they altered his words. And so anyway, I think but at least I think they treated you with respect. I don't think they gave you the opportunity to win that. But that's obviously I'm biased. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, I really like what I do, and also, like I was saying earlier, people do not know how difficult. I mean, people have tried to sing, people have tried to juggle or whatever, but they've never tried spinning a rope. And if they have, they'd have been like, "Oh my God, that guy's really good." But so that's why the fire was helping. The way I dressed, I wanted to make sure that everything I was doing wasn't like hokey, because then they'd want to prey on that. So I had to be smart about, you know, everything I did and what music I used.
Look ahead. Tell us what your future is. Where are you aimed?
Well, I don't know right now, because the world is in such a weird place. I've been also, ever since I was a kid, and even in Cirque du Soleil, we produced, I met some filmmakers over there, and we did a little Western short film. And when I was a kid, I used to make little films with my brothers. I did, back early 2020, we filmed a little short film called The Dentist. It was a 5.5 minute short film at the ranch here, and threw that on YouTube, and it has over 500,000 views now. So people really liked it. Yeah. So that's been something to keep my creative, everything going creatively for me.
Have you ever been in any commercials? I just can visualize you in some commercial with one of your tricks or 5 of your tricks and selling a product. That just hits me.
Nothing big. No, I haven't done really commercial. I've done little like promos for smaller things, but nothing nothing big.
Somebody's missed an opportunity for you.
That's true. But you mentioned Cirque du Soleil, and so the Tucson guy, you've been here all your life or most of your life?
Yeah, I was born in Tucson. Born in Tucson, pretty much here my whole life.
So you get grabbed for the Viva Elvis show, get taken there, and that's that's about as far from Tucson as you can get in style. So tell us something. What was that like, Cirque du Soleil? Because you did that for over 3 years, right?
Yeah, it was 3 years, and first when it was the casting was huge. When they were looking for a performer, they found every single trick roper everywhere, and it was really, you didn't know what was going to happen. And then there was a part like, you didn't get it, and then all of a sudden you got it. So you go to their training center in Montreal, Canada, and then even though you're in the training, you have like a training contract. So if you suck, then
you're out.
And there was a few people that got fired during the training. Luckily, that wasn't me. And then we get to the theater in Vegas, and there's like the rehearsals in the theater, and there's still a possibility where you can get out because the show's not completely done yet. And then there's a soft opening, and then they have like the grand opening. And so it was 3 years, over 1,400 shows, and it was nice to get out, like kind of how Steven, even though, remember when I think he went out and was able to work with different hotels. And it was like with me, it was nice to leave home and get an experience things. Cause all those acrobats, cause I thought I was the best at what I did, and I am, but when I went over there, everyone else was the best at what they do. There were Olympian acrobats that were Olympians, and seeing their discipline really helped me level up.
It goes so fast that you're on and then you're off too. And did you get a sense of, I'm just a small piece here and it just goes so fast, I've got my 8 seconds of glory kind of thing?
Well, luckily I was a feature, like a specialty act in the show. The dancers and acrobats, they sort of play a lot of cues and they're not really featured. I was featured in like a 5.5 minute section, and I was like the main guy, so I didn't really feel like
that you were a small part.
Although I missed the connection with the audience because thousands of people come in, they watch, and then they leave, and you're just backstage. So I missed that connection with the audience. Whereas I perform here, I get to hang out, take pictures with people, and talk to them, and I missed the social aspect. It just felt like the machine of Vegas. People come in, you perform, they leave, but it was neat. I learned a lot from that experience.
A lot of our guests went over there, especially just to watch you. And I was always going to do it. And, and always seems like something comes up and then they close the show. And of course now Cirque du Soleil is gone. And, I sit here and you're in entertainment, we're in hospitality. It's all one club really. And I think, if we didn't know it before, we're part of an overall segment of our economy that is unappreciated and viewed maybe as expendable, because when this all shakes out, that's the segment that's going to be hit the hardest, I think, without a doubt. And those of us who are still standing and still spinning ropes and still leading rides, we'll be the survivors.
Well, I disagree with you that it's phasing out. May have slipped a little, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back because of people like you that are still here and offer some real things for people to get their hands around.
Well, thank you. We plan to be here, and I know Loop will be, and Loop has been here almost virtually through the whole thing, and it's been great. Well, you got any Cirque du Soleil stories that to shock us all, or just amusing?
Oh, I guess it's not really related to me with roping, but there was a mishap. So I would always practice on this one Jailhouse Rock set. It was a huge set, and because the floor was nice, and I'd practice there all the time, and people would pass by, and sometimes I'm doing the whips, people would kind of back off because I almost hit him with the whip. But there was one crew member that Jailhouse Rock set, when it was being rolled in the show, rolled over his foot and severed a couple of his toes off.
Goodness.
Oh. Yeah. And so it was a huge tragedy, and then he was out for a while, but then he came back, and I was cracking whips and he was passing by and I almost not hit him, but I was like, he kind of got scared and I said, "Hey, sorry, just trying to keep you on your toes." I was like, "Oh, oops, okay, maybe not the best way to," and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, "No, it's okay." Oh, man. Good guy. So anyways, that was bad.
That's a cool story.
Well, on that, I guess we'll wrap it up.
Well, I want to ask him another question.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Well, no.
No,
I'm having
please
so much
do.
fun. I don't want to leave.
It's terrific.
You get an ice cream cone, you don't throw it away half eaten, do you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. How about a book in your future? Have you thought about a book, an autobiography, or whatever? And I'll lead in for a minute. I never thought about writing. My big sister grabbed me one day and said, "Alan, we need to write a book together." And that was the furthest thing from my mind. Discovered that I loved it, that I liked the act of writing, and that it just gave me a lot of satisfaction. So want to hear if there's a book in your future.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, about doing that. I know around Arizona highways, they're doing a little story on me, and that got postponed because of COVID, so I feel like I have a lot more I want to do. So I'm sort of focused on just dealing with what I have in front of me with this whole pandemic, and then trying to find the light in it. So
near time ahead of you? Like
I'm sorry?
Near time, like next week, next month? What's out there?
Oh, as far as
waiting for you to shows.
Yeah. Pretty much nothing right now. There's nothing going on, but I'm trying to just generate and adapt. So it's, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are listening, it's just something we have to deal with and keep our heads up.
Well, I want to hear you say one thing.
Yeah.
I'm available. That's what I want to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm available out there.
There you go.
And how do they find out about, you mentioned Facebook. I'm one of the few people not on Facebook, so how does that work? They just look you up, Loop Rawlins?
Yeah, Loop Rawlins. My website's looprawlins.com. So, anyone can check it out and find me on the social media and say howdy. Yep.
Terrific. Well, we'll see you at the ranch. I don't know what day you're here this week. Tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm here.
Tomorrow. Yep. Okay, perfect. All right.
Well, Loop, it's been an honor to have you here. I just have gotten the biggest kick out of hearing your stories and getting acquainted with you. So I want to thank you personally for being here.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thanks.
This is Lynn Weezy Sneed, and I am at White Stallion Ranch, and I am with Arabella, who is a guest here. Hi, Arabella.
Hi, everyone.
So Arabella and her family came in this weekend, and how did your family choose to come here?
So it was my grandpa's 70th birthday, and my family wanted to do something big, because usually he'd want to stay at his own ranch that he owns with cows and chickens and just grill on the grill, but his daughters were like, "No, let's do something special." So we last minute booked this weekend and got all the girls together, all my family. I have my 2 aunts and their kids, and then my mom and all of my siblings, my grandma and grandpa, and so far it's been awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. What a great way to celebrate his birthday. So when you got here, you got to sign up for activities?
Yeah, so we actually signed up online the night before because we got here Friday evening, and all the activities were closed after a certain time. So we signed up for them. We all got into one big room, and we're like, okay, who wants to do what with who? And so we ended up choosing archery, the shooting, and then all of everyone who wanted to do the horses, we're going to do the horses at 4.
So that was your activities on Saturday. So you started with archery.
Yes, archery was 10 in the morning. It was super fun. That's where I met Lynn, and we had awesome conversations, and it was just really fun to go shoot the arrow and then pick them up and then reshoot them.
And I know you got some bullseyes.
Oh yeah, so did you.
Yeah, we had a blast. And so then you only had a little break before I think you went and had a lesson in horseback riding?
Yeah, so the lessons I actually just found out. My mom told me that 100% of what we paid for the lesson goes to the actual wrangler or trainer. So we thought that was super awesome. And it was nice to have the lesson right before the ride at round 4 because we all felt more comfortable with the horses. We felt like we knew what we were doing. And it was just really nice to be able to learn all that information before.
Yeah, and what was it like? We're at ranch headquarters right now, and the archery field was close to headquarters, as are the corrals. But you were out in the desert, right?
Oh yeah, for the ride, it takes you along this trail, like right through the desert. You get to go see the mountains. And so we just kind of followed in a straight line there was 2 wranglers, and one wrangler was leading the pack, and then the other one was making sure everything was all right, going and checking to see, like, does everyone have water? It was really an awesome experience.
Oh, that's cool. And then you're leaving, it was a short visit, right?
Yeah,
you're leaving tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow around, I think checkout's 11. The actual, guy who did the archery for us, cause we're a big group of family, and some people wanted to do archery, some people wanted to do shooting, but most of the boys who wanted to do shooting couldn't because the spots filled up. So he was like, oh, what if I take you guys in the morning? So now they're actually talking to the front desk people to see if they can accommodate our group as a family to do like a private shooting thing.
Oh, that's so cool. So, White Stallion is just a wonderful place, and I know I was at dinner and they sang happy birthday to your grandfather and just really rolled out the red carpet.
Oh yeah,
and
they're super accommodating to everyone's needs.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Arabella.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this show, folks. You can learn more about Loop on his website at looprawlins.com. That's LOOPRAWLINS.com. Keep up to date with him. You never know when he'll be performing in your area. Until then, I'm Lynn Wheezy Sneed, reminding you to stand tall and ride safe.